Hi there and welcome to another PSD Tuts spoon-fed Photoshop tutorial. I'm Gavin Steele, and in today's tutorial I'm going to take you through how to create a swanky coffee table icon in Photoshop. And this tutorial is by Andrea, and I'm just going to pull it down and you can see we've got this really cool glass effect table, unusual design based on a real design, and the tutorial takes you through the stages of basically using a real world item to practice your skills in making icons. So this is the original table. And this is the table that we're going to be creating. A nice quick 10-step tutorial to get your teeth stuck into. So I'm going to load up Photoshop and show you this is the one I created. Not exactly the same, but it looks pretty similar, so my perspective isn't brilliant, but I'm going to take you through the stages of just creating this. So I'm going to close that off. I'm going to show you that my square canvas is 512 by 512 pixels. And I've got some guides on here, so Command H will show and hide your guides. And if I show you the info panel, hopefully you can see that we've got a guide down the middle, a guide at the top up here, which is around 197, down closer to the middle, it's at 207. And 347, and this one at the top again, sorry, was around 61 pixels. So just move that aside, and this is what you should have. First thing that we're going to use is the pen tool, so P on the keyboard. We're going to make sure that we use the first option for our pen tool, this one here, which is our shape layers, and that's out of 3. You could have chosen paths or fill pixels, but we're going to go with the shapes layer. So make sure you've got P selected, choose a colour, an arbitrary colour that we're going to change anyway with our layer styles, but just so that you can see the design as you start to lay it out. I'm going to layer, click once here, once down the bottom. I'm going to hold down on our pen tool and come to add an anchor point, and I'm going to add an anchor just about here. Come to the selection tool, the direct selection tool, and pull that out. To about here, and then I'm just going to bow that a little bit. Then I'm going to add another point down here, and this time I'm going to move this down like so, and we're going to start to shape using this selection tool. So just want to make sure we keep this on a straight line. We're going to move this up until we get a fairly nice curve. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's bring that down. Okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit sharp up at the top. So just going to bring that round. Okay, it's not too bad. So I'm going to hit Enter on the keyboard, and then going to hit Command J. That's going to duplicate that layer. Hit Enter again, then Command T for free transform. Right click, flip it horizontally, and then V on the keyboard. I'm just going to move this over so we get something like this. Command H to hide our guides, just to make sure that when we're moving it in, our guide won't leave a line like that. Okay, so that's nicely joined. I probably could have kept it a little bit flatter for a little bit longer. There's a slight bow there, but it doesn't look too bad. Okay, we're going to select those two layers, right click on them, we're going to rasterize them, like so, and then Command E, we're going to merge those layers together, and let's call that top. And now let's bring our fill layer right down for our top, and then we're going to go to layer style, so double click on the layer. We're going to add a gradient overlay, and I've already saved this, so I'm just going to come down. It's this one here, and the first color is ACBABA, and the final color is E9F2F2. Click on OK. OK. Have a look at it. It's a little bit dark at the bottom, so I'm just going to click and drag my gradient. Just pull it down just a touch. Okay, next I'm going to add a stroke, 1 pixel stroke. And we're going to change it to be inside. 100 normal, that's all great. We're going to set the opacity actually to 80, and the color we're going to set to D7. DD. Click on OK. And then finally we're going to add an inner glow. We're going to set that to normal. 75 is fine, 0 is fine. Change the color to that D7 DDD. Okay. And soft is fine, edge is fine, 0, and then size, let's do 65. And everything else should be fine. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, that looks pretty good, and click on OK. Let's duplicate that layer again, so Command J. We're going to call this bottom. Going to close off these layer styles and just bring it below our top layer. Go back into bottom. We're going to turn off our gradient overlay. And we're going to increase our stroke color just to a darker color. So let's go A4, A9, A9. Click on OK. And click on OK. Okay, it looks pretty good. So next thing that we need to do is select these two layers. Command J, or let's just bring them down to a new layer. So we've got 2 copies. I'm going to grab my bottom layer and I'm going to move it down about 6 or 7 pixels. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pixels. And then we're going to start to play around with creating the edge of our glass at the bottom and the top of the image. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to command click the top part, hold down Alt, command click the top part, select Alt, and that's going to minus everything apart from our top half, and then I'm going to click mask, and that's going to create a mask on this layer. If we get rid of top, you can see we're just left with that top area up there, and now we need to get the bottom part. So to get the bottom part, we do a similar thing where command select the whole thing, and then, oops, wrong layer. And then we select our bottom layer. That's going to leave us this part here. And again, we can come up here, and because our fill's 0, we can't see this layer, but we can just grab our brush with white selected, nice hard edge, just going to bring that all back in, Command deselect, turn off our top layer, and we now have our 2 edges. In fact, just stick that in the trash. And we're going to double click on this layer. We're going to get rid of our inner glow. I'm going to come down to gradient overlay, and this time we're going to select this one here that goes from a dark grey 3D 4242 to white to 3D 4242, 3D 4242, white, and again 3D 4242. Click on OK, and let's have a look at how that looks. Just going to lift that up a bit. Okay, we're just trying to get it on the edges here, so I might just scale that just a little bit. Okay, we want to make sure that's on normal, 100, that's all fine, and the angle we're going to set to 0. Okay, so we're looking to get these light bits just on our edge here. And actually, if I bring that back, that looks a little bit better. Okay, click OK. And the last little bit is to create our reflection going along the top. So let's come down to top, Command J, we're going to duplicate that layer. Let's call it reflection. And we're going to grab our lasso tool, we're going to come down the bottom. We're going to come straight down and across here. And finish off. And then we're going to hit delete to delete the selection. Command D is going to get rid of our selection for us. We're going to go into that reflection layer. Doesn't need it in a glow. And our gradient overlay. It's going to be black to white. In fact, no, it's not. Let me undo that. First need to set it, to overlay mode. 36%. It's going to be white to black reverse. There we go. Angle's going to be 108. 100%. Click on OK. And then we're going to reduce the opacity right down to about around 60%. Now we've got a little bit of a stroke there, I just noticed. Yep. Okay, so we've got rid of that. Let's click on OK, and then we've got our reflection in there. So just playing around with our top layer, just gonna turn the old one off. Just gonna reduce the opacity. Just playing around with different effects. Let's see what we get. Yeah, around 60% is pretty good. Okay, we're going to group all of those together. And we're going to stick them in a group, so Command G, and I'm going to call that tabletop. Okay, now on to the fiddly part. We're going to create the legs that are going to go down under here, and this is all about perspective, and it is quite tricky to get right. So I'm going to turn on these little lines I've created here, and this is just to get some perspective for the legs coming from this area here and coming out. So go back into your pen tool, and we're going to select these legs. So we're going to create them on top of our tabletop for now, and then we'll bring them below once we're finished. So let me just get my general shape up. Okay. So we're going to start around here, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to go up, come back down, and then just keep coming down. Here, and then bring that around like so. Go across. Oops, Alt click on that last one, go across, and then come in. Like so. Alt click and finish, and you'll get something that looks a little bit like that. That looks okay. I'm just going to change the color to black. Click on OK. So that's not perfect, but I think it's going to work when we start to do our other one. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to turn on a gradient overlay, and I'm going to have this one go from fairly dark colour to a fairly light grey. Click on OK and OK. And then I'm going to hit Enter, Command J to duplicate that layer, Command T, right click, horizontally and then vertically, bring that round. Okay, we're going to start to fiddle around with this, trying to get the perspective just right. So Command T again, and we're going to try and just skew this into shape. So, okay. Let's bring that down a second. Okay, so we're just moving it and then skewing it, just trying to get the line right. Which I'm not doing too well at the minute. Again, Command T, just rotate that. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's go back in and see if we can bring this leg down a bit. Okay, let's grab those two. Let's bring them below our tabletop. Oops, not into our tabletop. Make sure you go below. Okay, and then we're going to grab our tabletop and let's select. Let's bring this down. Okay, so we're just bringing that. I'm playing around with that top and bottom like so. And okay, so that's not, this leg here is not perfect, but it's okay for now. We'll carry on. Can I increase the opacity back up for that? Make sure that's on 100. Group these. Okay, the next thing we need to do is to make these legs 3D. So I'm going to grab this left leg first. I'm going to Command J to duplicate it, and I'm going to move it to the left 6 or so pixels, and I'm going to come in here to our gradient overlay, just start to play around with our colour. Just click on OK, and again go back to V. And sorry, move it to the right. If you move it to the left, it kind of really throws the whole shape out. If you move it to the right, it makes it look like it's coming down here and up to the right. So that looks pretty good to me. Okay, and I'm just going to go in, turn off my perspective. There's a number of ways we can make this top part look 3D. I'm just going to go in on a new layer, and I'm going to select the edges, going to right click, make it a selection, and I'm going to fill that with a dark grey colour. Like so. And zoom out. And again, I've gone for a rather flatter edge to take the perspective as if the glass is sitting on top of that flat part. So now I'm going to grab my right leg, Command J, duplicate that, and then again I'm going to move to the right to start with, and then change the colour to a lighter grey, go in, gradient overlay, OK, and click on OK. So we're just lightening up those colours. V on the keyboard again, doesn't quite look right, but if we move it to the left, okay, we get the thickness of the leg, and again, I'm going to zoom in, pen tool, and just create the fill. So right click, make it a selection, click on OK, sample that area, going to grab the brush, fill that in, Command deselect. Now that's not great, so Command Z that. It's my pen workmanship. P on the keyboard again. It's going to be right on that edge. That should be a little bit better. Make a selection. Let's have a look. It looks pretty good. This last little bit does not look good. Color overlay. What color? We want to grab that there. Click on OK, OK. And I'm just going to flatten this with the brush tool. Okay, and the next thing to do is we can create the very bottom of all this. Yeah, grab a nice light blue colour, grab a brush, make sure it's soft. Just stick that underneath our table. Let's lower the opacity. Okay, and that's our final little icon. Again, we can minimize that down, make it smaller and smaller, and touch up all the bits that we make smaller. And it's a great little short tutorial by Andrea on how to create a swanky coffee icon in Photoshop. I've been Gavin Steele, and I hope you enjoyed that tutorial.